I killed them all. I murdered billions of Ludosians, and I'd do it again in a heartbeat, shouted Earth Commander Scott King, his shackles sending shockwaves of white-hot pain through his body as he struggled against his alien captors. King was dragged down the lavish hallways of the Galactic Council, past rows of alien diplomats who glared at him with a mixture of terror and hatred. King knew these pompous fools could never understand. They hadn't seen what he'd seen. As he was shoved into the center of the circular council chamber, King locked eyes with Wezen, the green-scaled Ludosian leader. The reptilian alien bared his fangs, his yellow eyes blazing with fury. "Human, you stand accused of crimes against the Ludosian race, the destruction of our colony world and the slaughter of billions," Wezen hissed. "The punishment is atom disintegration. What say you?" King lifted his chin, staring at Wezen without an ounce of fear. He had to make them see, make them understand the truth. If he failed, Earth would burn. "I say you don't know the real reason I did it," King said, his voice carrying through the chamber. "None of you know what's really at stake here." The chamber exploded into an uproar, with dozens of alien councillors demanding King's head, but Wezen raised a scaled hand, narrowing his eyes at the human. "You dare insult this council? You murdered billions." King nodded, taking a deep breath. It was now or never. Earth needed him to do this. He had to convince them, or humanity would be wiped out. "I dare. Because if I don't tell you the real reason I destroyed that colony, my people will die. Every man, woman, and child on Earth will be slaughtered, unless you listen to my confession and heed my warning. The Ludosians aren't what they seem, and unless we stop them, they'll destroy us all." King met Wezen's gaze head-on, refusing to blink. The fate of his species hung in the balance. This was humanity's last hope. King's eyes scanned the chamber, seeing a mix of shock and disbelief on the faces of the alien council members. He took a deep breath before continuing. 6 months ago, I was on a routine patrol near Ludosian space when we picked up a distress signal from Xandar Prime. It was a Ludosian research station reporting an unknown alien attack and requesting immediate evac. King's hands clenched into fists, his knuckles white. I followed protocol, notified Ludosian Command, and took a squad to assist. But when we landed, it wasn't aliens attacking. It was something far worse. Images flashed through King's mind. Ludosian scientists, their eyes wild, skin mottled with dark veins, attacking his men with inhuman strength and savagery. He shook his head to clear the memories. The station was a secret bioweapons lab, cooking up a virus tailored to wipe out humanity, down to the last strand of DNA. But it got out, infected the researchers, turned them into mindless killing machines. King remembered the desperate fight through blood-slicked halls, the screams of the infected, the thunder of pulse rifles. His team, dwindling with each encounter, pushing forward to the heart of the lab. We secured samples, data, enough to expose their plan, set charges to purge the virus, but as we were pulling out, Ludosian ships dropped out of hyperspace, a cover-up force ready to scour the planet clean. King met Wezen's gaze, his eyes hard. They were going to destroy Xandar Prime, billions of innocents, to bury their dirty secret. I couldn't let that happen. He remembered the impossible choice, the weight of worlds on his shoulders. Watching civilian transports flee as his ship turned to face the Ludosian fleet. The flash of his weapons tearing through their hulls. The planet, burning as he rained fire on the research station. The colony, ensuring the virus's destruction. The price of Earth's survival, paid in the coin of his soul. I did what I had to save humanity, and I'd do it again. Wezen's eyes narrowed as he glared at King, his scales rippling with barely contained fury. "You dare accuse us of such treachery? Why did you not bring this evidence to the council immediately?" King barked out a harsh, bitter laugh that echoed through the chamber. "You think I didn't try? I went through every proper channel, submitted every form in triplicate, but I was blocked at every turn by your bureaucratic red tape and threats against my planet if I didn't shut up and go away." He leaned forward, his shackles straining against his wrists. I realized then that the only way to ensure the safety of my people, of every man, woman and child on Earth, was to take matters into my own hands, to destroy the virus at its source, no matter the cost to myself. King's hand suddenly darted into his pocket, causing the guards to raise their weapons and the councillors to flinch back in their seats. But instead of a weapon, he pulled out a small, innocuous data chip and tossed it at Wesen's feet. There's your proof. Video from my helmet cam. Recordings of your military's communications, the research data I pulled from the lab. It's all there. Wesen hesitated for a moment before stooping to pick up the chip, turning it over in his clawed fingers. He crossed to a display panel and inserted it, and the screens around the chamber flickered to life. The council watched in stunned silence as the horror played out before them. The infected Ledosians, with their mottled skin and wild eyes, attacking King's team with savage ferocity. The frantic firefight through the blood-soaked halls of the research station. The cold clinical data on the virus's effects, tailored to human DNA. And then the damning recordings of the Ledosian military, their plan to scour the planet clean to bury their sins. King's desperate battle to stop them, to save the innocent lives caught in the crossfire. As the final images faded, the chamber erupted into chaos once more. Some councillors demanded an immediate investigation into the Ledosian government, while others shouted that the evidence was clearly fabricated, that King was trying to justify his genocidal actions. Wesen raised a hand calling for silence, and turned to King with a look of pure disgust. Why should we believe any of this? Your species is known for its deception, its disregard for the lives of others. What proof do we have that this is not some elaborate lie? King met his gaze unflinchingly, his eyes blazing with righteous fury. Because, Counselor, he growled, if I was going to lie, I would have come up with a much better story than this. The truth is often far stranger and more terrifying than any fiction. Wesen's scaly hand trembled slightly as he stood to face the council, the weight of King's evidence heavy on his shoulders. He took a deep breath, his voice echoing through the chamber. In light of this disturbing information, I propose a full investigation into the Ledosian government's actions. Commander King shall be held in secure custody until the truth can be determined. The council erupted into a cacophony of arguing voices, some nodding in agreement, others shouting their dissent. But after several tense minutes, a reluctant consensus was reached. King would be detained, while a team of investigators, led by Wesen himself, delved into the dark secrets lurking in the data chip. As the guards dragged King away, he locked eyes with Wesen, a flicker of understanding passing between them. The truth had to be uncovered, no matter the cost. Days bled into weeks as King paced the confines of his cell, the sterile white walls closing in around him. He was pulled into interrogation after interrogation, the council's questions growing more pointed and accusatory with each session. "You're hiding something, human," an insectoid councillor hissed, her compound eyes glittering with suspicion. "This story of yours, it's too convenient, too perfect. What aren't you telling us?" King slammed his fist on the table, his eyes blazing. "I've told you everything, every damn detail. I'm not lying to protect humanity, I'm trying to save us all." But even as the words left his mouth, King could feel the toll of confinement wearing on his mind and body. The constant questioning, the isolation, the gnawing fear that maybe, just maybe, he hadn't stopped the bioweapon after all. Just as King was beginning to lose hope, Wesen burst into his cell, his scales rippling with agitation. "We've had a breakthrough," the Ledosian said, his voice tight. "I've uncovered a trail of encrypted communications, a secret meeting between high-ranking members of my government and someone called the Benefactor." King leaned forward, his heart pounding. "What did they say?" Wesen's eyes were haunted as he replied, "The bioweapon, it wasn't just meant for humanity. It was intended for any race that posed a threat to Ledosian supremacy, and this Benefactor was funding it in exchange for a cut of the profits once it hit the black market." King felt like he'd been punched in the gut. He'd stumbled into a conspiracy far deeper and darker than he ever could have imagined. As Vaesen presented his findings to the council, the chamber was so silent you could hear a pin drop. The implications were staggering. The Ledosian government had betrayed not just humanity, but the entire galactic community. In a unanimous vote, the Ledosians were stripped of their council seat. A formal inquiry launched into their actions, and King, his name cleared by the evidence, was released from custody, hailed as a hero by some for his role in exposing the plot. But as King stepped out into the bright light of freedom, he couldn't shake the chill that crept down his spine. The benefactor was still out there, their identity unknown, their motives a mystery, and King knew, with a bone-deep certainty, that this was only the beginning. He had to find them, had to stop them before they could unleash their twisted vision on the unsuspecting galaxy. King's jaw clenched as he strode away from the council chambers, purpose burning in his veins. He didn't know who the benefactor was or where they were hiding, but he swore, on everything he held dear, that he would hunt them down, that he would make them pay for every life their greed had put at risk. King strode out of the council chambers, his mind racing with the implications of what he'd uncovered. The benefactor, the shadowy mastermind behind the Ledosian bioweapon, was still out there, plotting their next move. He couldn't let that stand. As he made his way through the bustling corridors, a familiar figure stepped into his path. Vaesen, his scales glinting in the artificial light, fixed King with an intense gaze. "Commander King," he said, his voice low and urgent, "the Council has a proposition for you." King raised an eyebrow, crossing his arms over his chest. "I'm listening." Vaesen glanced around, ensuring they were alone before continuing. "We want you to lead the hunt for the benefactor. Your unique skills and experience make you the ideal candidate." King barked out a harsh laugh. "You want me to clean up your mess after everything that's happened?" Vaesen's eyes narrowed. "This is bigger than Ledos, bigger than humanity. The benefactor is a threat to the entire galaxy. We need you, King." King considered for a moment, weighing his options. Finally, he nodded. "I'll do it, but on one condition. I choose my own team." Vaesen hesitated, but the desperation in his eyes was clear. Agreed. King wasted no time assembling his crew. First on his list was Raxon, a Ledosian defector who had lost his entire family to the bioweapon. He found the man in a seedy bar on the outskirts of the station, drowning his sorrows in a bottle of neon-blue liquor. "I'm going after the bastards who killed your family," King said, sliding into the booth across from Raxon. "And I need your help." Raxon's eyes, bloodshot and haunted, met King's. "I'm in." Next, King tracked down Zara, a renowned hacker with a knack for infiltrating even the most secure systems. He found her in a dimly lit tech shop, surrounded by a tangle of wires and glowing screens. "I need someone who can dig up the benefactor's darkest secrets," King said, leaning against a cluttered workbench, "and I hear you're the best." Zara smirked, her fingers dancing across a holographic keyboard. "Flattery will get you everywhere, Commander. Count me in." Finally, King sought out Grok, a massive Krog warrior with a reputation for brutality. He found the alien in a fighting pit, his fists pummeling a hapless opponent into bloody submission. "I'm going after the benefactor," King shouted over the roar of the crowd, "and I need some muscle." Grok turned, his eyes glinting with savage joy. "The benefactor? I've got a score to settle with that scum. I'm with you, human." With his team assembled, King set out on the hunt. They chased down leads in the darkest corners of the galaxy, from seedy spaceports to hidden research facilities. They faced danger at every turn, narrowly escaping ambushes by the benefactor's agents, always seeming to stay one step ahead. Months passed, the trail growing colder with each dead end. But King refused to give up. He pushed his team harder, driven by a relentless determination to bring the benefactor to justice. Finally, a breakthrough. Zara uncovered an encrypted transmission that led them to a remote planet on the fringes of known space. As they approached the coordinates, a massive facility came into view, bristling with defenses. "This is it," King said, his grip tightening on the controls of their ship. The benefactor is in there, I can feel it. They landed under the cover of darkness, infiltrating the compound with silent precision. But as they made their way deeper into the facility, all hell broke loose. The benefactor's private army swarmed them from all sides, a hail of blaster fire filling the air. King and his team fought back with everything they had, Raxon's aim true, Zara's tech skills disabling security systems, Grok's brute strength cutting a path through the enemy ranks. But the odds were against them. One by one, King's team fell. Grok shielding King from a sniper's bullet, his lifeless body hitting the ground with a sickening thud. Zara, badly wounded, dragging herself to cover as she continued to hack the facility's defenses. In the end, only King remained, battered and bloody, standing alone before a shadowy figure cloaked in darkness. "Commander King," the benefactor said, their voice a mocking drawl. "I've been watching you, waiting for this moment." King raised his blaster, his hand steady despite his injuries. "It's over, you've lost." The benefactor laughed, a cold, cruel sound. "Oh no, this is just the beginning. I've been pulling the strings all along, King, guiding you here to this very moment." They stepped forward, their face still hidden in shadow. "Join me, King. Together we can rule the galaxy, bring true order to the chaos." King's finger tightened on the trigger. "I'll never join you. I'd rather die." The benefactor sighed. "So be it." In a blur of motion, King dove to the side as a barrage of blaster fire erupted from the benefactor's hidden guards. He rolled, came up firing, his shots taking down the guards one by one. The benefactor, sensing their impending defeat, turned to flee. But King was faster. He lunged forward, tackling the benefactor to the ground, his blaster pressed against their temple. "It's over," King growled. "You've lost." The benefactor, their face finally revealed in the harsh light, smiled up at him. "Have I?" King's eyes widened as he saw the detonator in the benefactor's hand, their thumb hovering over the trigger. He had only a split second to react. With a roar of defiance, King snatched the detonator, rolling away as he activated it. The world exploded around him, a searing wave of heat and light and sound that consumed everything in its path. The facility crumbled, burying the benefactor and their dark secrets beneath tons of rubble. King, thrown clear by the blast, lay still on the rocky ground, his breathing shallow, his vision fading. He had done it. The benefactor was gone, their threat to the galaxy eliminated. But at what cost? You have reached the end of the story. If you enjoyed this story and want to support us, please leave a like and subscribe to our channel, and for every comment that says 88, I will heart every single one of them. Thank you for your time.